So I have no clue what happened with the Q&A on the side, but I wasn't seeing anything. And Google had been messing up all day. Like I said, Hangouts are incredibly unstable. Between that and my horrible scheduling abilities, I'm sure it's been annoying for you guys, so I do apologize. That being said, apparently these were the questions on the side, so I figure I will answer them right meow. Thanks to Battle Creek, by the way, for getting these up. So I seem to have stalled on my bench press. Not many PRs on my presses. How many reps can we build up to? Or should I just hit the top and leave it there? Or should I go down and wait a bit? So when you stall on bench press, um, backing up, bench press is, for some reason, the first thing that people stall out on when they diet. You'll see somebody increase in squats, increase in deadlifts, all the way through a diet program, and then they'll stall on bench press. I don't know why, but that's just a phenomenon. So, I keep mentioning that being in a caloric deficit is not the right environment to make consistent progress, but you can still make progress, even if it's beneficial to be, at maintenance or a surplus, if you really do want to focus on strength. But with bench press, the best thing that you can do is focus on your back offsets. And so, if you stall on your top set, you want to PR on the back offset compared to what you did last week. So let's say I'm bench pressing, I hit 90 pounds. Last week, I did 8 reps in my top set. And then I do 9 reps on my back offset last week. This week, I try 90 again. I can't hit more than 8 reps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to PR on my back offset. So I'm going to do 100 pounds, 90, and then 80 pounds, and try to get 1 or 2 more reps more than I did last week. If I still stall out and I still don't PR on that back offset, I'm going to try to PR on the third back offset. You'll find that if you keep doing this week after week, eventually the top set will move up. But bench press is one of those exercises where if you're in a deficit and you're dieting, you can expect gains to be very slow. If you fall out of range, it's really important to decrease the weight by 10% until you get back into your normal range. From Shannon, have fallen off the horse and trying not to beat myself up too much this week. Expecting to gain. I know this is normal, but how can I stop the cycle? Again, great question. So when you fall up when you fall off the horse, again, most important thing is self-compassion. You are not your mistakes, and it's important to disassociate your mistakes, falling off the horse, from yourself. So it doesn't mean that you can't be successful. The most important thing is to ask yourself what were the thought patterns going on in your head when you fell off the horse, right? Knowing your previous kind of diet history, we're at this point where things are going to start to slow down and plateau. And if you were used to that kind of early progress in your exercises or your weight loss, it can be kind of frustrating. It can be frustrating because if you don't see that weekly improvement in the scale, then it's easy to feel like, you know what, I didn't make progress this week, fuck it, I'm just going to eat all the things. But the most important thing to do is to be mindful and understand what it was that happened this week that made you fall off the horse, right? So provide some detail, and I can elaborate more. There are some common thought patterns that I've talked about. One is, yes, if you don't see results, it's easy to say, just screw it. Another is that, if life gets in the way, it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to screw it one day, I'm not going to track macros, there's too much going on, and then kind of rationalize yourself to keeping that party going, right? And this is where my value comes in as a coach, right? Like, I need additional detail to know what you were thinking. So it's important for you guys to build up the skill of mindfulness and figure out exactly what was going on. And what I can do is I can take what you're saying and figure out if that needs to, if that necessitates a change in your macros, or if that's something that we can talk through instead. But being mindful and trying to think of the thought patterns that made you fall off the horse will help get back on the horse. The most important thing that you can do is realize it's never too late to get back on the horse, right? People end up regaining weight because they see that number on the scale move up the first or second week after a screw up, and they're like, oh, I must have undid all my progress. When in reality, it takes weeks to undo all of your progress. So if you step on the scale and you see a 5-pound increase, know that that's mostly water weight. Whenever I tell someone to get back on the horse and they are successful at doing that, they usually come back to me and say that, oh, I didn't realize that you could put on so much water weight from eating off diet. Random question. Does cooking ingredients change their macros at all? I'm especially thinking wine and vodka. If I cook wine in a pan sauce or bake with vodka, do macros stay the same? No, macros do not stay the same. You're going to have to ask Epicurean BB on this, but I think that if you burn off the alcohol, that ethanol is no longer there, and I don't think that counts anymore as additional macros. But yes, if you're using, let's say, a cup of wine, then those carbohydrates from the wine, those calories are still going to be there, right? So cooking ingredients, things like salad dressing, those all add up, right? If you think about the fact that women really only lose half a pound a week, unless you're going really aggressive, and you have 100 incidental calories every single day, then that can cut your progress in half, in just 100 calories every day. So do be aware of additional calories that might add up. From Andrew, I'm going to be traveling next weekend. Any tips or tricks for hitting macros while traveling? Any tips for doing a workout in a hotel gym? I've yet to see one with a squat rack. So you can revert back to if you look at the various programs, if you were on the more advanced program, you can revert to one of the earlier programs and do those dumbbell workouts. Like I said, the best thing that you can do is to substitute your exercise right now that you're doing with the most similar thing, utilizing dumbbells, and then instead of focusing on intensity, focusing on PRing, and going close to failure, focus on volume. So double the amount of sets with a lighter weight. How do you deal with getting stronger on one side faster than the other? This is making my bench press wobbly. Yes, so anything to do with symmetry or imbalance problems, the best thing that you can do is literally get stronger and everything evens out. And I say this because this is an analogy I use sometimes. You can do one of two things, right? You can really, really focus on isolation workouts and absolutely making sure that one side gets stronger than the other, or with imbalances, focusing on exercises that will help correct that imbalance. By the way, those are two things outside my domain, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Or you can focus on the bigger picture, right? Which is building as much muscle as possible. You will never find somebody who is super strong relative to their weight. So I don't just mean like super strong dudes, but like a woman who benches, let's say, her body weight, or even 2/3 her body weight, or squats her body weight, or deadlifts 1.5 times her body weight. You'll never find somebody like that who has a lot of symmetry issues. And the reason is because as you get stronger, those things tend to even out. And so for your bench press, when you start to feel like things are wobbly, let's say you're right-handed and your right side is getting stronger than your left side, when you start to feel form really deteriorate, don't do another rep, right? Eventually the other side will inevitably catch up, but the best thing to do is to focus on the big picture, get stronger, and then everything will even out. I was going to go into this really, really geeky metaphor about piano playing, and actually, I'll go into that metaphor. So one thing that people focus a lot on in piano playing is focusing on making sure that the volume and the tone that comes out of each finger is the same, right? Which is harder than it sounds because your thumb is going to be a lot stronger than your pinky. So there are schools of piano thought where they focus on really concentrating and making sure that all sound is even from each finger. Well, the Russians came along, and they have a school of thought where instead of approaching it from the bottom up and focusing on these like minute things, which is parallels strength training, instead of focusing on you know the minutia of imbalances by focusing on concentration or isolation exercise. Uh, Instead, the Russians focus on the big picture in which you use your wrists as a weight. And if you use your wrists as a weight, inevitably all the sounds come out the same, or it's very even. So whenever you can focus on the big picture, do that because it's going to be a lot easier in your time. It's going to take a lot less mental energy, and you'll be better overall if you keep away from the very minute details. I think that's everything. Okay, thanks again, Battle Creek. I don't know why those questions didn't show up, but hopefully we hit everything.